Hello everybody, my name is Gigi Young and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories, and this is a really timely, great topic because conspiracy theories are everywhere. Conspiracy theories used to be something that was reserved for the most paranoid movies. The most paranoid people in society were associated with conspiracy theories, but now, because of the level of corruption that we are realizing exists in society, conspiracy theories are becoming more and more mainstream. And as we dive into this topic, I'm going to be answering one of your questions. I just want to remind everybody that the word conspiracy theory and the idea that we are conspiracy theories if we question the government or we have an idea about how something happened in our world that's different than the mainstream story, that word conspiracy theory and that sentiment of questioning the government or whoever was created to stop dissension. So the word conspiracy theory was actually brought into existence in our culture when people were questioning what happened to President Kennedy, because President Kennedy's assassination really represents the heart of really all conspiracies. It represents deep state factions fighting with one another. And to get into that conspiracy would really expose an entire chain of corruption. That's a lot of money at stake. That's a lot of power at stake. So there had to be a culture of shame created around questioning things. It had to become a crazy thing to question reality. It had to become a crazy person's thing to question whether or not the government was being truthful. It can't be looked at as scholarly, as academic, as intelligent, as pioneering to question authority. It has to become something that crazy people do. And people have to choose between, do I live sort of comfortably as, you know, within society and never question anything, or do I go into that really uncomfortable place and question things and get called a black sheep and become the weirdo in my family? And you live a different life, really, when you start to question reality and get those answers that, you know, you don't really necessarily want, because there's an intense depression. And nobody talks about this, but there's an intense depression in knowing, and a sadness in knowing, and an isolation in knowing. Because once you begin that process of questioning your reality and looking into the corruption in the world, you are suddenly living beside the world. You're no longer part of the club. Being part of the club is a luxury. You're outside, you're on the outside now. So I promise you, if you're watching this and you hate everything about conspiracies, I promise you that your way of existence is a luxury compared to some of the things that we have to start taking responsibility for and looking into. Now, that said, are all conspiracy theories true? Absolutely not. Just like how conspiracy theories are, it's wild. The only way you can navigate the conspiracy scene is by developing discernment, by developing a connection with your heart and with your soul so that you can read energy and you can see truth. See truth. The development of the third eye isn't about just seeing psychic visions and having vivid dreams and being a yogi. The real third eye development is being able to see illusion. It is the literal experience of that movie where the guy has the sunglasses and when he puts them on, he sees the world as it truly is. But when he takes it off, it's as it should be. That is what the third eye does. That is what psychic development does if you're doing it properly. It will allow you to see the truth of the world. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, either something is true or it's not true. I don't care about conspiracy theories or any of these social norms that are placed around them. Either something is true or it's not true. That's all there is. And that's how we need to look at things going forward. And the variations of things we can address, but we first have to just be real with ourselves and just, understand that it really does not serve ourselves or the world to shame people that think differently. Okay? So I just want to really open with that. And this is the question that I received from somebody named Elvie Sobolev. And you said, can you please cover the healthy way to consume conspiracy theories? I feel a lot of people get stuck in the powerlessness of it. And quite frankly, not everyone deals well with it emotionally. They get stuck in the narrative and feel they have no power over anything. When is it appropriate to avoid them completely, and how to get out of it, and how to get out if you find yourself in an emotional rabbit hole due to consuming such information. So navigating the conspiracy scene is an initiation. It's an initiation. It's an initiation through discernment and being able to look at something and say, how much of this do I think is true? What is the kernel of truth? And how do I then apply this to my worldview and adjust my beliefs and my behavior to incorporate this? People avoid the conspiracy scene because they really want to avoid going through that really difficult process of discernment, discerning truth from a lie, because we all lean on convenient truths and things that are not really necessarily true, the highest truth, because we can't have our complete worldview fall apart all at once. So we really do have to pace ourselves, and we really do have to choose things that we want to focus on and have that power, that personal power to sort of delicately look at things from a place of personal power where we are knowing that that outside world does not define us. And that really, really is the key. And that's why this is an initiation, is because you have to have a really strong spiritual center, a really strong spiritual core, and understand your unique purpose, your unique identity, the feeling of your unique energy. You have to be all in that if you want to understand the aspect of the material world that is illusion. Conspiracy theories is the study of illusion in the world. What is an illusion? What is real? That's why we come here. We came here to figure out what the conspiracies are and discern them. Really, that's really why we came here. What is true and what is illusion? Okay? So the secret to being really good at navigating conspiracies is to know that you are ultimately in control of your energy, and you have to be able to read your energy to know when to dive into a conspiracy and when not to. Okay, so if you are low, if you're already depressed, if you're anxious, if you're tired, if you're hungry, if you're already feeling like you're depleted, it's not really time to go down the rabbit hole until 3 in the morning looking at pedophilia scandals, looking at black magic rituals and techniques, or really disgusting things that politicians have done that make you so upset that you think that there's just no hope for the world. The depths of psychopathy are not the things that we should look into when we're already tired, hungry, we have no reserves, we're already depressed and anxious. We got to know that. But that also means that we have to have a regular spiritual practice, regular physical practice. We have to have kind of a holistic life where we're honoring and we're evolving. So we have to have a life where we do have some kind of routine that honors our mind, body, and spirit. That is what's going to keep you overall in a condition where you can more or less probably handle things. When we become behind on our development, when we're not really developing and building peace within our bodies through meditation practices, when we're not exercising, when we're not eating properly, when we're allowing ourselves to feed into negative belief systems that we know aren't really, that we should be healing. When we fall behind, suddenly the material world, the external world has a lot more power over us. Why? Because we're neglecting the development of our inner world. We're not building it up. We're not evolving. We're not healing it. We're not building up our spirit within our being. So the material world begins to dictate more of our reality to us. We really don't want that. You really want to have that routine where you are regularly growing and evolving through a balanced lifestyle. And for everyone is going to have different adjustments they need to get there, okay? But you want to have that. You want to have that. We are not here to be blown in the wind of life. So we're not here to have no rooting and just be tossed around by all of the drama that we come into in life, to just be constantly polarized by politics and whatever's going on in our external world automatically just colors us. No, we are the eye of the storm. We are the creators. It is our job to command our energy. It's our job to know how much power we have, to understand that we can develop it, and to take responsibility for our emotions and our thoughts, to work with ourselves, not kind of lord over ourselves or overly control ourselves, but to work with ourselves to develop, if that makes sense. So no going into conspiracies if you're already low, and understand that the most important thing is, developing yourself so that you're not going through peaks and valleys all the time, and get to know what your energy feels like and respect it, and also find out the people who are in the conspiracy community that talk about things in a way that is more empowering. There are some people who are in the in the conspiracy scene, and they'll have like truths, like they'll have like an esoteric truth or like a truth about the occult, but then their take on it, or they'll attach to it a bunch of stuff that's just dark and hopeless and not true. It's like they have the core correct, but their swing on it is dark. And that is their right. It's their free speech. They can share it however they want. But that may not be your approach. You may have a bigger picture. You may, you have to be able to look at it and say, okay, well, that's the core truth. And that is that person's spin. That is how that person has decided to take that truth about reality, about the government or about a corporation, and they've decided to form this worldview around it. That's their decision. One of the things that people do when they first get into conspiracies is they'll take people's worldview right along with the conspiracy, and they'll automatically assume that because this individual had the intelligence to figure out the conspiracy, that they also have a good worldview, or a worldview that will work for you. That's just not true. Take the conspiracy, leave the worldview, develop your own worldview. And anybody who has this sense of immediacy, like something has to get done now, oh my gosh, that's usually something to avoid as well. That's just not balanced. And that's a whole cottage industry, is using conspiracies to make people feel absolutely terrified to the point where their survival mechanism is going, and then they just buy a bunch of stuff they don't need and give people money, and it's a weird part of it that, you know, look out for that part of it too. If somebody really does understand conspiracies very well, they should be able to talk about it in a balanced way that doesn't give you this weird sense of immediacy or emergency to the point that your life force energy is being harvested, your emotional energy is being harvested because you're terrorized, you feel like you're in terror. Okay, so when we look at conspiracy theories, we're really trying to activate our higher self and really activate our inner wise woman or our inner wise man, where we're looking at things and we're constantly kind of pinging the conspiracy that we're hearing off of a sense of intuition. It's kind of like we are the philosopher's stone, or we are this resonator of truth within us. We have this within us, it's within our heart, and we want to sort of look at conspiracy theories from that higher heart engaged perspective, where we're like, you know, what part of this is true? But we engage that inner wise person, and it's that wise person that we have look at the conspiracy rather than our lower self. So we're really looking at conspiracies with our higher self activated from a psychic, or more of a psychic intuitive place, than this sort of lower survival based place. If we're looking at it from a place of survival, we're always going to assume the worst. We're going to think we have to prepare for the worst, and we're just going to go into this lower level of functioning because you're just going to live in the basement of your life. And I see a lot of people do this, is they hear a conspiracy theory, their survival state is completely activated, and they assume that the best position to take is that that a certain negative thing is going to happen, or the worst is going to happen because of a certain conspiracy. They'll just start preparing for it and investing in it obsessively, and then it's like a lower way to live. And that's really not what the initiation is with conspiracy theories. The initiation is to really look at these things from that inner wise person and say, now what part of this is true? What degree is it true? You know, and how can I shift my worldview, if at all? You have to have these kind of questions that you break the conspiracy down with. You know, is the person that's sharing the conspiracy balanced? Is this someone that I would want to be or look up to? Because there is something about, if you are a conspiracy researcher and your cottage industry that you have for yourself, or what you do is you try to provide truth to people, if your life is a mess and you are chaotic and you are sort of imbalanced, then, you know, your audience, you know, when you're watching these individuals that share in that way, That's how they're getting their information. That is their mind. So we have to understand that there is a lot of benefit in looking at the way in which they are shared, the energy in which they're shared, because no matter how bad things get, no matter how terrible the conspiracy is, how dark it is, the only way we can deal with these things is through a relaxed, balanced analysis that is driven through the balance between mind and heart. There is never going to be a conspiracy that is properly dealt with or addressed or shared through a panicked, chaotic, fear-inducing, schizophrenic demeanor. Okay? And people become addicted to that. People become addicted to that delivery and to that energy. The reason people become addicted to that chaotic energy is because they are in this weird place where they know, so they're no longer sheep, but at the same time, they don't really have to take responsibility. So a lot of people will think that they're initiated into these truths, but they're not. Because if you genuinely understand the heart of getting to corruption in society, you'll know that the only way to really address that is to have a very strong spiritual practice and to be completely centered in your being. You cannot deal with conspiracy theories if you are chaotic and you're addicted to chaos and you're in constant states of anxiety and panic. You are just creating a whole other conspiracy within a conspiracy because you do not have the consciousness present in your being to actually deal with it or to be a leader. Period. So there's many different levels to this that are very strange, in that a lot of people think that they're very awakened to conspiracies, but the fact that there is no dedication to truly developing a strong core that's able to analyze and actually deal with things in a balanced way, there's no real point in even knowing. You're no better than people who don't know. Just knowing is not enough. It's what we do with that knowing. And it's how we execute the solutions. It's our energy once we know, and our ability to rebuild after we discover all of these different conspiracy theories, after we discover corruption. We need to be able to have that balanced place. And so really, really understand that if you're getting your information from somebody who makes you feel anxious, who makes you feel, a sense of terror, then, maybe go somewhere else. But at the same time, there's also responsibility on your part, because you can't be so sensitive to other people's energy that you constantly avoid any type of confrontation at all. There's also people who are so empathic and so sensitive to energy that the moment something gets dark, they just leave. That ain't good either, because again, you need to be the eye of the storm. And leaving as soon as something gets hard, as soon as you're challenged, ain't gonna be it. We have to find that edge. In yoga, there is that practice where you find your edge. And your edge is that part where you're uncomfortable. So you're building your muscle, or you're getting into fascia. You're in a healing space. You're uncomfortable. You're challenging yourself. You're in that wildness. But you're not giving yourself to it. You're not completely lost in it. You're on your edge. You're uncomfortable. You're not retreating back into complete comfort, and you're also not just throwing yourself into complete wildness hoping it goes okay. We have to learn how to develop that cognitive edge. where we can get into that uncomfortable material, uncomfortable truths, and we're there, and we don't abandon ourselves, and we don't want to retreat into an extreme. That is the secret. And only you can learn to develop that yourself. Only you can learn to develop that yourself. And that's why some people can just go through conspiracy theories, and there are some people that I know that can just find the truth in the weirdest material or the strangest circumstances. They'll just bing, 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 bing. They can just figure out what the pattern is and get it right away. Doesn't matter how dark it is or how fluffy and promising it is. They can just find the chord. They can find the truth. At least enough so that they can develop in their lives. And that's because at their core, they are developed to a point where they know themselves, so that they can then detect truth. When you know yourself as an individual, when you know yourself, you can sense truth. If you don't know yourself, if you haven't developed yourself, you cannot sense truth, because all truth that we sense comes from this core of recognition that we are God, that we are part of God, that it's that divine spark, that Christ consciousness within us is our truth. We have to uniquely know that and feel that in ourselves personally and develop it. Only when we have a relationship with that can we see the illusion in the world. And some people are very, very good at it, and some people aren't, but it all comes down to developing that consciousness. So at the end of the day, all conspiracy theories is a lesson in discernment. And conspiracy culture is not going anywhere. It's unfortunate that it has become a partisan issue where the right side, at least in America, is associated with conspiracy theories, and they're all tinfoil hat and crazy, and then, you know, the left is not. That's sort of where it is, at least at the making of this video. We all need to be paying attention to corruption, and we need to move beyond the 60s definition of conspiracy theory that really started at the Kennedy assassination, and take our power back and understand that free thinking, freely analyzing things, being different, having a different idea, having a different thought is powerful. It is what makes society fertile and creative. It is what allows societies to be reborn into more productive societies again, and it's what allows growth, is this robust sharing of ideas and questioning things. Back in the day, long ago, when universities were first formed, it was all about having a unique opinion about the world. How to think, not what to think. We have moved far away from that in our day and age. We need to see, you know, if we removed a lot of the stigmas around conspiracy theories, we could actually directly work with genuinely mentally ill people who were clinging to conspiracy theories that need help. But as long as we're telling everybody that is a conspiracy theorist believer that they're mentally ill and they're crazy and just put your tinfoil hat on, we're not going to actually be able to reach the people that genuinely need help, that genuinely suffer from paranoia. Okay? So, yeah. I hope this video makes sense. Conspiracies aren't going anywhere because they are questioning everything is part of being human. It's part of knowing who we are, and it's certainly part of the cycle that we're in, which is a clearing of corruption and a purging. In these cycles of humanity, in these cycles, we directly begin to question our reality. And so that has to become something that is explored with joy and curiosity and support from one another and allowed to expand. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, all my love your way, and I will see you in my next